Sidetrack yet again. The wife turned up yesterday with a bunch of furniture she got off Craigslist or somewhere that I have to transform into a decent bit of suite for the room that she's doing. So this is kind of one of the early stages. I kind of started yesterday and didn't actually document anything, so unfortunately you're not going to get the full thing. That's as came piece of furniture there. And then over here we've got a roll top desk, which is kind of made out of chipboard and pine that I've sanded and stripped and, well, deconstructed, and now I'm starting to put it back together. So I'll try and follow the process as I go. So I'm doing this one and then that one there, which you'll kind of see how it comes about once I'm done. So chipboard, as I call it, is like the worst stuff in the world to try and work with for doing anything. Normally it's covered in a laminate, and as you can see, as I took the top off, it just all split. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to pour some glue down behind it and then clamp it up against the edge. So luckily for me, you won't see this once the top goes on, but I don't want it kind of looking nasty inside, and also as I put the top on, kind of breaking the bits off. So I've just done the bottom side, wherever it is here. I didn't masking tape this when I cut it, so it all popped up. You can kind of see it moving there. So that's kind of glue. It's just going to settle in and then I can sand it. So the same for here. I marked out where the top goes, so you can kind of see the lines here. So I just laid the top down, centered it, and marked out where it was. And then I've just drilled some holes with one of my favourite tools, a countersink bit, so that the screws will go in there, because I know the base kind of covers these screws once it goes back on. So now I'm going to start sanding this and work out how to stain it. Time for some orbital sanding. So I'm going to go 80 grit and then 120 and 240, and then that should give me the finish I want. And then you can see the white stuff cleaned up after itself. So good tip when you're sanding like this is go diagonally in both directions and then against the grain, and then the last one with the grain, and you should get a fairly smooth finish. You can kind of see the high spots where the markings are still there, but this is underneath, so I don't really care that much. Going down to the final disc now. I've done the 80 and the 120. This is the 220, I think. So when you're on the final sand, you want to go against the grain to start with, then diagonally, and then with the grain. And that gets rid of all the imperfections. The reason you kind of go diagonally to start with the rough paper, so you don't get caught on anything if your planks are uneven. I did some staining experiments. So this is the original wood here and here, and that was the kind of stain mix we went with. It's I put it on a lot thicker, so it's actually closer to this, but it's still missing a bit of red. So I think we're either going to try T-coil it, that will just add a little bit of colour to it, or some kind of other natural oil that's got a tinge. So obviously it's not here. I've stained it and put it to one side out of all the dust. Now I'm going to give this cabinet a coat of primer. I've glued in all the bats there, so that's all done. So I'm going to give it a coat of primer, see how much damage there is, and then fill a few holes, and then I can paint this one as well. Base colour. So what I ended up doing was, after priming it, I've put on enough of the cream to kind of cover the primer, so now I can go through, sand it and clean up the bits I'm not happy with before I give it a final coat. It's much easier to see the changes you want to do when it's kind of got some of the final colour on. And then now I'm just painting the backboards to a lovely mint green by the looks of it. And then I'm thinking I might give it a light sand so you get some of the wood grain come back through. And it'd be a little touch, you don't really see it when you're looking at it, but I'll know it's there. Reassembly time. So there's the original roller shutter, the painted frame kind of screwed back together. And then what I'm doing now is I've got some wax, and essentially, well, it's one of the wives' candles, but you're just rubbing it inside here just to give it a complete coat of wax, and then when you put the roller desk top in, it will just smoothly slide backs and forwards. That's the theory anyway. So I'm going to carry on doing this and then try and get the roller in. Now, because the sides of these are actually made of chipboard, you want to make sure you pre-drill all the holes, otherwise the wood's just going to split straight open. So what I've done here is I've just put in 2 screws at the top to align it, very kind of like 1/4 of an inch depth, and then what I'm going to do now is use the other holes as the pilot holes to drill for the final screws. And then I put these in, take this out, drill the hole, put the screw back in, and then that should be the top fixed. And then you can see it still rolls closed, looking quite nice. And then the other thing I did, because this thing was super annoying, is I put 2 screws, one either side there, to stop the shutter from going all the way back down, because it's kind of got the wax in there, it just kind of rolled straight out the bottom. So nearly there with this one. So I've just put some wallpaper on the inside, which I think will give it a bit of colour. I've got the top that I made before I started doing this video. So this is just some planks from a pallet, and then it's actually screwed to the wood that was the top off the roll top desk, which I'm going to assemble next, waiting for it to dry over there. And then the wood panels that I painted with just green emulsion and sanded, so you get the grain. So now I'm just going to staple it together, remove the roller wheels, and then call it a done project. To the mounting, I've got the base. I've just marked down essentially 5 centimeters from the top, which should put this roughly in the middle. And I've put a couple of little marks here and there, rough centers. They line up with the screw, so I think that's going to work. And then I'm just going to use these little L brackets, screw them on like that, and then drop this over the top, make sure it's aligned, and then screw this to this, and then it's assembled. Then I've just got to put the bottom drawer in and the shelves and the drawers inside the roll desk. Little top tip, so when you're putting in brackets or you're screwing into a soft wood and you don't want the screw to bounce around, get yourself a bradawl, and then essentially just make a hole, like just push it in. It's only soft wood, so it goes in easy, and what that does is that's going to hold the screw as you're pushing in so it doesn't bounce and move around, and then your brackets stay exactly where you want them to be. I've presented myself with a problem. So when I took these cubby holes out, it was a very tight fit, but they came out fine. So trying to put them back in, now this is painted and I don't want to scratch it, it's probably exactly the right size to go in. So the second you start trying to push it through, it marks the paint. So I need to work out how to reduce the width of this by about 1 millimeter. I've tried sanding it, but it's just taking forever, so I'm taking a break and having a think. I got there in the end. So I ended up using the melt sander here and just sat it on top and kept going and going and going until it slid in. So there's a few minor scratches, but nothing major, just a touch up will be fine. So drawers in. I just got the tray, which is here. slot that back in with the spare parts. And then these handles are terrible, so we're going to find some new ones. And then the roller, which comes down like so. The finished pieces, the roll top desk, which I'm happy with, kind of all finished. The roll top works as well as I'd expect it to. And the little side cabinet, which was mini cupboards, I guess, that's all cleaned up now and looking tidy. So job well done. On to the next projects.